So, um, running shirt. I'm not sure what I'm doing here. Trying to, I guess, document some of my road to recovery is the best way to think about this. I've never done any sort of broadcasting or YouTubing or vlogging. I've watched many. I'm a fan of many. Um, this is really just for me to have a way to reflect back on where I am at this moment, how far I've come to this point, and of course my journey on hopefully to some success with running. I guess little backstories in order. Uh, I was training for ultra marathons for several years, building up to what at that time was kind of considered the ultimate distance in ultra marathons, the 100-mile race. And I was training for Oil Creek 100 in Titusville, Pennsylvania. And the summer prior to that, it's in October, the summer prior to that, I was ramping up my mileage. I had several races planned to kind of get me to that point, races being used as training runs to prepare me for the 100. And in July, I noticed a red dot or bump on my leg that kind of started to grow and get a little bit bigger. And I went and had it looked at, and it turned out I had been bitten by the infamous deer tick here in Pennsylvania, the notorious Lyme disease carrier. And I was given Lyme disease by the tick. It turned out to be a pretty severe case. It made its way into my central nervous system. I had a spinal tap done in which they found traces of the Lyme in my central nervous system. And you can read up on Lyme disease if you have any curiosity about that. I'm going to spare you the details. There's plenty of information out there about it. But the bottom line is it sidelined my running, made it impossible. I did go up and try to compete and try to finish, but the effects of Lyme disease on my body were just too great. I completed some of the training races that I had planned, and performed very poorly in those. I was on lots of medication trying to get the Lyme out of my body, and just did not go well. I dropped out, I believe, at mile 37 at Oil Creek, if I remember correctly, the first aid station on my second loop. I did leave the aid station, tried to push on, and returned back to the aid station because I knew I didn't have another 63 miles in me. So, but that's not the end. That kind of manifested itself into a diagnosis of ulcerative colitis, which in itself is a very interesting disease, and causes many, many problems, and makes it difficult to participate in many activities, and darn near impossible to be a runner. That's all 6 years ago now, I believe. And I am now at a point, that's the Reader's Digest version, I'm now at a point where I'm trying to get back to that point. I've been doing some training runs. The longest one at this point has been 21 miles. I felt very good for that. And the good being a relative term based on where I've been the last 6 years. But as good as I've felt in the last 6 years is kind of how I felt at that training run a few weeks ago. But I've noticed my training has been plateauing. No matter how many miles I put in, I've been putting in 40-ish, 45 miles a week the last 4 or 5 weeks, trying to ramp up my mileage, trying to get prepared for some other events that I have on the schedule. And I just felt like I can't kind of break through and reach a next level of fitness. So, in a quest to try to get there, I had some blood work done. I have some potential for some medicine for my ulcerative colitis that could help out with the situation. But the bottom line is, what I found out yesterday is I have kind of a severe case of anemia, which is related to the Lyme, related to the ulcerative colitis, which I feel goes back to the Lyme. So the Lyme kind of triggered, all these other things. Fabulous, fabulous stuff. And now I have my iron levels came back at a 7 yesterday. So apparently it's supposed to be somewhere between 38 and 45. That's low. And effects of that are poor sleep, which contributes to quality training. Increased restless leg syndrome. If you're not familiar with that, it's fabulous. It's fun. You should try it. And of course, my nutrition suffers, and shortness of breath, and lethargy, and sleep. Increased tiredness, but I can't fall asleep because so it's this struggle I'm dealing with right now, and apparently I have some action to take on that next week. So hopefully I can start to get some relief from that. It's way beyond taking supplements. My body isn't able to even the supplements wouldn't put a dent in the problem that I'm experiencing right now. So I don't know who this is for. I'm recording this, my first time ever recording anything and posting it on the internet. But this is just going to be my first post. I'm going to try to chronicle from today, July the, what's that say? 7th, July 7th, 7/7. I'm going to see where this takes me. It might be one and done. This might be the only thing I ever post. But I have some things planned that I would like to document, if for no other reason, just for myself, so that I can kind of look back and see changes or see progress, or just document what I experience. If it's not progress, it's a way to document a lack of progress and to know that things are not working. So right now, when I'm running trails, I'm usually pretty happy if I can kind of stay around that 12-minute per mile mark, which sounds absolutely, to me, it sounds very difficult. It's difficult to hear. It's when I was trail running before, I was probably 3 or so minutes faster per mile. And I kind of feel like I've plateaued there. Now that 12-minute per mile includes elevation. I try to, shoot for 1,000 or 2,000 feet of elevation gain in maybe a 10-mile training run. Of course, more if it's longer. So I want to see progress, and I want to see improvement. So hopefully, now moving forward, that 12 minutes per mile can start to whittle down into the 11s and maybe into the 10s with some treatment. And now that I know kind of one of the other factors that's contributing to my performance and lack thereof. So right now I'm in a training cycle where I'm trying to put in about 45 to 50 miles a week. That's a goal. Today's Tuesday. I took off yesterday because it was, I did 10 miles on Saturday in the mountains. Sunday I did a 8-mile hike that was pretty strenuous, and 11-mile bike. So I took yesterday off to let my body recoup. I've been using a Whoop strap recently, and trying to use that information to guide my training and see if the sleep information from my Whoop strap and the daily strain information will help me make some better decisions as far as training effectively and efficiently. I also use a Garmin Fenix 5 and really like this watch for during my activities for information. So between these two items, this is kind of how I'm gauging my progress in my training. I don't do a whole lot of reading about exercise physiology and how to progress. I am a person that kind of just goes on feel. I go out there and kind of have a goal for what I'm going to run today. Today I plan on doing about 15 miles. It's an extremely boring loop that I have to do. It's a 1 mile loop, and I plan on doing it 15 times. But my energy level is very low today. I'm not sure how I'm going to perform. Because of my colitis, it makes it difficult to take in food and my body to process that food and gain the nutrients and the energy from that food to then perform. And it's these things that I have to constantly kind of tweak and work out and find out what works for me. A lot of supplements when running aren't very good for me. Something I do use that I've found works really well for me because of my ulcerative colitis and because of my stomach. One of the products I use quite a bit is honey stingers, because it is a natural source of sugar, which doesn't affect my stomach. And I also prefer to use some Justin's nut butters while I'm running because, again, it's a pretty clean, lack of processing. This one has vanilla in it. Usually I just get a plain one or the honey one. I've never actually tried the vanilla. I'm not sure how that's going to go, but I'll try that and see how it is. But all the honey stinger products seem to work very well for me. Don't upset my stomach. Don't cause me to have to kind of bail or forfeit my run for that day. Just drinking plain water. I know there's a lot of good products out there for hydration, to increase hydration and to make hydration something a little more interesting than just water. But a lot of those have added sugars and things that I just really can't process or absorb in my system due to my colitis. It causes all kinds of problems that aren't pleasant and can actually sideline my training for multiple days at a time. So I can't take a chance on that. But anyway, so this is just day one, vlog one, and I'm not sure where it's going to go. But maybe some people out there will find this and find it interesting or find some use in it, or maybe we can create a sense of community for people that are runners and or just people that are active and also dealing with ulcerative colitis, or people that are recovering from Lyme. Those topics aren't going to be a focus of my running or this vlog, but it is something that will come up because it's something I deal with every single day. I'm not sure if there's anything else I need to cover. I guess I'll show you the shoes I'm running in today. Big fan of the Ultra brand, if you can't tell by the hat. And these Superior 4s seem to be treating me really good. Nice lightweight shoe, zero drop, of course. I have the rock plate in these because I'm in Pennsylvania. And if you're not familiar, we're also known as Rocksylvania. Lots of little pokies that can come up through and things to kick. Lots of rocks to kick and lots of rocks to step on. So these shoes with the rock plate in seem to be doing pretty good on kind of shorter runs. If I was doing something maybe a little bit longer, I would go up to the Lone Peak 4.5s. They have a little bit thicker sole, a little more cushion, and just seems like they allow me to kind of go a little bit longer. But this is a nice lightweight shoe, and I really, light for ultra shoes. I'm sure there's lighter trail shoes out there. And yeah, gonna see how it goes. I guess that's about it. Not sure I'm gonna call the podcast yet, or the vlog yet, or whatever this is. I don't know what this is. I'm kind of an old guy, and not really sure what to call this, but whatever I call my channel, or the vlog, or the podcast, or whatever the thing is, I have some ideas, but right now I'm just another guy running, so I'm going to go out there and run a little bit today, and maybe I'll stop back and make another post to kind of follow up with my activity today and see how it turns out. But right now, I'm just going to sign off and head out and enjoy some nice humid Pennsylvania weather.